Joe Raso. Joe, how are you?
Good, Marshall. Good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning. Happy to have you here on the show. Congratulations on the new gig. We all thought you were going to be around this thing. We all figured you'd have a hand in it. But Director of Basketball Operations, how did you land there, and what do you want to accomplish with the role?
Well, I guess I landed there, being close to the River Lions last year and being involved in the Pro League, and being close to Mike Morreale. I think, it just was a natural fit for me. It puts me in a situation where I'm responsible with basketball topics in the league, from the players, the coaching, the officiating, rules, regulations, overseeing a lot of that stuff. So I'm real comfortable in that area. Our goal is to put a product on the floor that's outstanding, that has incredible Canadian content in a time of year that basketball usually isn't played. And, the idea of running it through franchises, that quality control will be exceptional. I'm really excited. The key part is I came in after the foundation was laid with a real good administration of putting this league down. And I'm just the next piece of them putting the presentation together.
Joe, you talk about Canadian content. Have you figured out maybe a number collectively with everybody involved at the CEBL, whether it's a number or percentage of Canadian content?
Well, I don't know if we've got an exact number yet, but I know that it's going to be greater than 50% of the players will be Canadian. Mm-hmm. And just that, in theory, is enough for me. That guarantees that there's you don't have to be fighting like CFL ratios of how many players are on and what position players are playing. There's going to be Canadians on the floor. And that's important, because sometimes when you just have a number of Canadians, sometimes, guys aren't seeing the floor. Here they're going to be an integral part of it. And at that time of the year, it's going to be important that we get our best kids.
He is Joe Raso joining us here on TSN 1150. Hamilton, as I said off the top here, Joe, you've done a little bit of everything, whether it's last time I think we talked to you here on the station, it might have been when you're doing the advanced scouting stuff for the NBA. You've been involved with the men's national team. You've been around at McMaster. We all know the history there and in the high school level. For you, having a pro league pop up and being developed by local guys like Mike Morreale's the CEO. Now you're in the office as well as the Director of Basketball Operations. You guys have your hands all over shaping this thing from the ground up. Talk to me about the amount of pride that goes into this for you, because this is kind of a legacy project, it feels like, for you, because you've already accomplished so much in basketball. Man, you don't need this. You can do different basketball jobs all over the place, but you've decided to buy in on what Mike Morreale is creating here with the CEBL, and I get the sense that it's just something that you feel really strongly about.
Well, Marshall, I can't tell you how difficult it was for a young kid when I was young to find a gym to play in. We used to find churches. We used to do things. It was incredible. And now you've got a situation where Ontario, Toronto, GTA, Canada is developing more basketball players for the NBA than, say, New York City. The game has grown so much. And this is just, I think, the next step of putting a situation. Like, when we talk about how many Canadians, it's almost like, well, maybe the Canadians aren't as good. That's completely wrong. We just want to make sure that it's more for development. Canadian athletes right now, the Canadian basketball player is in abundance. They're all over the NCAA. Internationally, it's the greatest number of foreign players in the NBA and the NCAA. U Sport was just kicking, some of our teams were just kicking NCAA teams this summer. The quality is so good. So for me, it's the next step in a legacy, the next step in development of basketball. We need a domestic league here that we can play and our players can come and play and fans can come out and enjoy our players on a national scene.
Joe, looking at the landscape of basketball right now, it's been in the news talking about, the collegiately, whether it's here in Canada or obviously down south in the NCAA, on whether players should get paid or not get paid. I understand this might be a little bit early, but I have to ask you, would there be a potential for high school players to come to the CEBL right away?
I don't know if we've talked about the high school player, but part of the CEBL will be a developmental position with a few players. And they might be players that are actively in youth sport teams, or possibly players that, are going to be one and done, or going to, without breaking NCAA rules. It's very difficult when you're dealing with young athletes, in particular the NCAA. So, it's important that we forge a relationship more so with the U Sport athletes and with, kids going before they go to the NCAA. But there's potentially, we might see some young local kids on some rosters.
Yeah, absolutely. As Joe Raso joins us here on TSN 1150, Hamilton, Marsh, and Melo. He's been named the Director of Basketball Operations for the CEBL. And I see in the Hamilton Spectator article that was written about you yesterday by Steve Milton that it says Raso will be responsible for forging business relationships with other professional, amateur, and college basketball leagues and with Canada Basketball, the sport's national governing body. The concept of being able to draw talent and to draw personnel and to draw interest. I talked with Brian Crawford, who previously worked with Canada Basketball a little bit. Now he's over with Golf Canada, about the concept of trying to recruit golfers to come over to the Canadian Open next year when it's right here at Hamilton Golf and Country Club. And he said, yeah, I'm sitting down with people like Rory and trying to tell them, hey, here's what we have to offer. And here is why you would want to be a part of this. When you go to people that are playing, whether it's in Europe that are Canadians or whether it's international players otherwise, when you talk to them about the CEBL in the coming months, what are you going to be saying to them? What is the selling point for you on this league?
Well, I think the key part is it's a time of season where you're coming home and mostly to train. It's a new season for you. It's a new potential, new opportunity. But more important than that, it's an opportunity for you to come home and play in front of family and friends. So not just a matter of training, but a matter of playing. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of great players in this country that some people haven't had a chance to see play. And so that's important. The other one is, our national teams had 37 different players participate at the international level in, trying to qualify for the World Championships. So a lot of those players that don't make the team, we want them to be playing in our league. And so the idea is come home, play in front of the people that you really want to play in front of, people that have supported you and cared for you for a long time, and use this in getting ready for your next season. We look at the league as a developmental league, not just for Canadian talent, but for players all over. The Americans in our league will be players that have played in the G League. They'll be very top-notch international players. So the quality of play is going to be exceptional. And we hope that the coaching is at that level. The facilities definitely are. So the vision of it is it's going to be very good basketball, very well organized, and, a lot of fun for everyone, across the country.
Joe, you touched on the development of basketball in Canada, but specifically locally here in Hamilton. How has it changed from a player development standpoint, a coaching standpoint, and more importantly, an excitement standpoint when it comes to basketball?
You see, I think that a part of it, like locally, we've been spoiled. Like we were 10 years ahead of development in women's basketball than any city in the province.
Yep.
Our richness here of basketball history, the number of offices that have been won here in Hamilton. And I think a lot of that is stems from great coaching trees, legacies of people. The game has always been very important. If you talk to people outside the city, they've always looked at Hamilton as a hotbed for basketball. And it wasn't just basketball; it was development and some of the players that played a huge part, and coaches that played a huge part in it. The celebration of Shea Alexander being in the NBA this year just tells you where we're at as a community. So I think it's only right that Hamilton is a central focus point in this league, and having a franchise here is going to be very important.
Joe, it's great to have you back in the fold, and I look forward to talking hoops with you moving forward here. Congratulations on the new role, and I'm sure you'll have lots of success with it, and we'll catch up with you soon, okay?
Appreciate it, Marshall. Kyle, thanks a lot.